Welcome to Inside Athletic Training, a podcast from the Professional Baseball Athletic Trainers Society, where Major League and Minor League athletic trainers share insight into athletic training at the highest level. On episode 1 of Inside Athletic Training, we'll speak with Ben Potenziano, assistant athletic trainer for the Miami Marlins. Ben spent 10 seasons as an assistant athletic trainer for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He also represented the Pirates as part of the National League athletic training staff at the 2014 All-Star Game in Minnesota. Prior to joining the Pirates, Potenziano spent 8 seasons at the Major League level with the San Francisco Giants. Let's get into the show. All right, so we'll kick it off here. Ben, welcome to Inside Athletic Training. We're happy to have you on the show for our first ever episode. With this being the first show, can you go ahead and share some information with our listeners about the Professional Baseball Athletic Trainer Society, also known as PBATS, and what the society means to you?
Good talking to you, Sam. I appreciate you having me here. PBATS, in my mind, it started a long time ago for myself. It was 1995. It was my first year in professional baseball. I'm very fortunate to have that opportunity. And I remember going to a meeting in San Diego, which sticks out in my mind, young and new. And the first thing that crosses your mind is like you're around all these other professional athletic trainers who work their way to the top, just like I did. And to be around them and to understand that they're there to educate you, be a resource to the minor league baseball athletic trainers and serve them by providing the continued education that we need to grow as a profession. And in this profession, we're always trying to advance ourselves. And as you see this today, we're all trying to advance to make our players better, to help our teams win, make the organization better. But understanding it and them helping us, that's where I was gravitated to understand this is where I wanted to be. This is where I wanted to learn more about what we were going to do. And being so long ago, when I started to now and where we've advanced ourselves, it's been amazing. So it's so positive in the sense that we have all these individuals all pulling in one direction and understanding that there's times we agree to disagree. But as a community of athletic trainers, we're advancing ourselves to provide the best sports medicine education we can to ourselves, as well as educate management and then the people outside the arena of athletic training, which is also key. So we educate them to understand what we do besides seeing us just on the bench during a game.
That's great. So we know, you talked a little bit about your background and getting your start in baseball. I know you're also extremely passionate about the mental health and well-being of athletes and the athletic trainers, which we'll get into shortly here. But I'd love to learn more a bit about your background and what paths led you to where you are today. So love to take it back to the beginning, learn more about where you're from. Were you an athlete growing up, where you found your passion for athletic training and kind of the path from, Ben as a young person getting into what he's doing today?
Awesome. I grew up in Maine, moved to Maine when I was 8 years old from New York. Big change, a really big change. Mm-hmm. But at 8 years old, I think you're just trying to get into things. So being in Maine, a small town, made friends quick, and then we were all active right at that age. So I found myself getting into sports more, being active. And thankfully, growing up in Maine in a smaller area, I was able to play all 3 sports, and that's what I did. And we didn't have football, so it was soccer, basketball, and baseball. And it kept me going year round with school and then, odd jobs in the summer, then playing summer baseball. So it was great growing up there. And I always knew I was competitive. There's always this time in your career as you transition through life as an athlete, when you're able to play against those upper crust of players. And I found that out later on in life when I got to college. But growing up in Maine, it just allowed me to just understand what it was like to be with a bunch of individuals to play sports that we loved, try to win, teamwork, respecting your coaches, respecting all of the things that we're supposed to learn as we're younger and carry those on through our lives. And it was just a great experience. And from there, I went to college and I played soccer, and I got injured, and what had happened is it was a quad contusion. So it was not like I was out for periods of time, but it hurt. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew that, hey, this is really hard to run with. It's hard to bend my knee. And so I went and saw our athletic trainer. No idea what an athletic trainer did, laying on the table. And I just started the conversation. And I just remember being on the table asking, what's it like? How'd you get here? All those questions. It's like, what this is. And it started the wheels turning. And then it was funny because I got away from it because I was in education, but it was interesting. So then when you started taking some of those science courses and then anatomy and physiology, everything started to circle back. And then I really started to develop the skill or finding the way to get into athletic training. Especially back then, they didn't have curriculum courses. They were you could do them as an internship. You get your core done, your core classes that you needed done that the NATA needed, your hours, which was 15 hours that were monitored, had to be written, by, he did do these, these hours by me, followed this, all of the guidelines that we followed. Took it straight forward, kept going. And then I had to do an internship my last semester of my, undergrad. And I sent letters out. Where could I go to get work for free? Who would take me for a semester and teach me? So I wrote a letter to the University of Maine at Orono, and the head trainer, Wes Jordan, wrote me back, said, sure, we'll do this. Let's get the professors involved, lined it up. What do they need to do? Took me in for the entire semester. I jumped right into men's basketball and I was helping the trainer that was there, the athletic trainer that was there. It was great. I was finished their season, then went into spring football. Then I graduated. And then he told me, hey, we're looking for a GA for next year. It's a 2-year commitment. If you're interested, we'd like you to apply. I did get it. So that's where it went. And I was a graduate assistant at the University of Maine at Orono for 2 years. And I did women's soccer, men's basketball, and football. Didn't even touch baseball because the head trainer had that. I loved the game, see the players and things like that, but never really got my hands on it. And then Mark Laton went to the University of Orono, get in touch with the head athletic trainer, called one day asking that, if there was anyone that was ready to move into or graduating that would be interested in doing a rookie level baseball job and position. And I jumped. I said, I'd love to interview. I interviewed over the phone actually with Mark and Stan Conti, and they offered me the job. And I left before I actually got my degree, and they worked with me so I could finish my degree. And I did finish it and got my degree, but I left for Arizona and I jumped right into professional baseball. And it started in 1995 with the San Francisco Giants.
That's really great insight there in terms of the path that a lot of, our listeners as athletic training students could take in their own right. From getting your start in minor league baseball, talk a little bit about what it's like getting into the world of Major League Baseball, making that transition from the minor league affiliates and making your way up to the big leagues, and just breaking into that highest level. What was that kind of like for you as an athletic trainer?
It was an interesting path because I knew if I was going to be committed into doing this, I needed to move. So I moved from Maine to Arizona, and I put myself inside there, and we had a close-knit group of athletic trainers, and I worked there. And then every opportunity that would arise, from instruction ball to fantasy camps to working with players in the off season, I made myself readily available on top of trying to hone my skills, educate, try to find every avenue I could to better myself, to position myself for an opportunity. And I think that's my mindset, which is like, be willing to learn, be willing to take all the advice I can, weed out what that works, find what works for you, but stay who you are. And that's the big piece that I could really probably share with everyone is, as I always told myself, is just be passionate about what you're doing, stay true to yourself, and be honest. And people weed themselves out when they try to move away from that, and they try to do things from different ways, and people see through things like that. And I just wanted everyone to know that I'm here. I want to do this job. I want to learn, and understanding that there's going to be failure. There's going to be mistakes. There won't be opportunities, and you don't know when it's going to happen. So the transition was, I just kept working harder each year to see what I could do to get better and make myself available from low A to then 1 year advancing up to high A, and then going from high A to double A, and which was a quick path. And I was nervous, but I was like, it's an opportunity. You need to just jump into it, learn, ask questions. So from there into double A, and I did that for 2 years. And then the advancement just continued into a minor league medical coordinator. And then that advancement is to continue to learn and, keep working with the people you're around and educate, ask questions, right? And then try to find the like-mindedness people that, where can we all go in the right direction? How can we better each other and guide each other? And then the next step to get to the major leagues, you never know when that opportunity can arise, and you just try to prepare yourself. And it's when it does happen, it was a great moment because there's some movement with the Giants organization. The assistant athletic trainer retired, and then that opportunity arose, and I came up and became an assistant athletic trainer in 2004 with the San Francisco Giants. And it was a great moment, and you're there. And then again, I tried to follow the same route I did in the minor leagues to the major leagues because it's a different animal, so to speak, Sam, as you know, and it's pressure, it's what the demand is. There's more demand. There's the travel involved now and more travel and away from the family, all those things that go around that. But it was staying true to who I was and asking questions, understanding when you don't have an answer, try to find an answer for them and then give them the honest opinion the best way you can and build those relationships. When you build the relationships and trust, that's where I found that transition from the minors to the majors even made it easier because once people start to trust you, it's just stay that way because they'll come to you and start asking questions and they know that you're going to shoot them straight and you'll at least get them in the right direction to get the answers that they need.
And you mentioned a couple of times the passion you have for athletic training. I would say anyone that knows you knows how passionately you live your life every single day. Is that something that you were kind of born with, just a general excitement for what you do every day? Or is that something that the athletic training profession brought out in you? Elaborate a little more about just the passion it takes to make it to the major leagues and kind of grind through the world that is athletic training in baseball.
I've always been outgoing in the sense that I've enjoyed the camaraderie. I always did. I enjoyed being within groups of people and sharing and laughing and getting to know people and just being helpful to anybody when you can. Growing up in Maine, I actually was able to be around that more because those tight-knit communities teaches you what it's like to help people that may not have things that you have or just helping in general. And it's that small town feel that I tried to bring into where I was going. It's like help people understand that it is a grind, and the minor leagues is a grind, the buses, and those that are still doing it and still being passionate about it, I commend them because an opportunity hopefully will arise. And those who did it even longer than I did and did make it, their passion has never changed either. It's just believing. I always believe that, and I'm being honest with you, I told myself, I said, you can read about things, stay within a job 3 to 5 years, see where you are, reevaluate where you are. Are you in the right spot? And I kept telling myself, you can do this. You can make this. We know it's going to be difficult. We know there's going to be sacrifice. You're going to miss weddings, birthdays, holidays. You're going to miss those things. And then with that, knowing that there is the major leagues, it's where you want to be at your profession. You want to be at that top. And it was a driving factor for me. I just felt that I wanted to be there. I wanted to prove to myself that I can do this. And being an athlete, you think you're going to be a Major League Baseball player. No, those numbers are slim. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I could just keep driving to be better at what I really loved. And two things I always loved. I loved music and I loved sports. I played an instrument, still do, have fun with that. But, I wasn't going to be a rock star, but I knew I was going to do something else that was another passion of mine. And baseball just kept me driving, kept me going. And from the minor leagues, you become more passionate because you know that the major leagues, you have all the things that come with it, right, Sam? And but getting there, and then when you get there, you realize how awesome the ride was. It was just one of those feelings, it's just knowing that you made it. It was great. It was great. And I think I credit myself in the sense that I didn't lose focus, and I just kept going when things were miserable, buses breaking down, motels weren't great. That's okay. That's where you had the most fun. That's where you made your relationships with players and staff. And I'm still talking to some of those guys today. And that's what I'm very thankful for, those relationships.
Yeah. And with those relationships, was there someone or a group of people who, when you were coming up in the minor leagues, that became really big time role models for you? Or was it essentially just being in the environment around people striving for the same goal in athletic training that kind of kept pushing you to learn and to be better every day?
I believe it was the group I was with. If you step back a second, I think when I look at who allowed me the opportunities, Wes Jordan, and then another athletic trainer up there who was in minor league baseball and then went from minor league baseball to the NHL and then left the NHL to come back to a more stable life back at the University of Maine. So he knew those three levels. And I think the communications and the emails or the phone calls at those times were that, stay focused. Things are going to be hard, but you can make this. Keep learning, keep asking questions. And that's what I did, is just keep asking, inquisitive, just being inquisitive, try to find those things. And then I was fortunate to work with young doctors in the Giants that were young and coming up and advancing as well. So it was this big learning pot, and having these two doctors, an orthopedic and a GP, that were young and they were really wanted to learn, and they were always helping. They were there to help. And that was the key, is that people were willing to help, and you understood that we're all trying to get better. And that's what we really needed, is pushing each other to get better, and understanding that some people did not advance any further than A-ball, and some left the game. And those who stayed, you'd see them on the road in other cities in the minor leagues. And then eventually some of us all were at the major league level together. So it was great to see each other and talk about those things. But I think, again, looking back, it was that one common goal, that we stay together, push each other, educate each other, and try to find the best ways to improve ourselves and the game and how we can make our players better. And that just continues, Sam, as you see. That's where science is continuing to take us.
So you've offered some great advice here for a lot of people who might want to get into the field of athletic training in baseball. If there was one piece of advice, for a graduating college student looking to break into baseball, you mentioned the grind that it can be, and being on the road and dealing with a bus that breaks down, and a lot of different things outside of the athletic training room. What is one of the main pieces of advice you would offer a student who is maybe getting their start in baseball with their first internship, or even just applying and hoping for a break?
Great question, because I think as we get older and I see things and I look back, I go, could I have done this differently? I'm not sure, but you learn along the way. The biggest key I'm realizing more now, as these younger kids are coming through, they're getting a good education because of these curriculum programs. They're giving them the book work, the knowledge. Now you have to get dirty, because as you know, learning from the book and then applying it are two different things, but at least you have that foundation, and then you have to take your personality. So here's I think in my mind is be inquisitive, ask questions, listen, always listen. Let the person finish. If you're asking the question, it's because you don't know, or you're trying to get another opinion. So listen, sit back and listen. And also understand that it does take time. And I understand about being impatient, but be patient, and then take the time to learn different things. See about looking at possibly getting, let's just think about all the other things that we're doing now, the needling and BFRs and cupping, and think about getting a certification in casting. There's all these different things that we can do that's under our umbrella, and understand that it needs to be under the umbrella that we have to follow. But stay passionate, ask questions, build relationships, and network. That are some of the things in my mind that can help you along the way, and then you'll build your own knowledge base. Keep asking questions, and just keep moving forward.
So going back to that, the knowledge base that you mentioned, you talked a lot about getting into the weeds, applying your knowledge and listening to your superiors and to your colleagues. I think a ton of listeners, whether they're students or professors or just anyone interested in behind the scenes athletic training, would love to hear more about the day-to-day schedule of a Major League Baseball athletic trainer during the season. A lot of people outside of the profession might think, hey, you just show up for the game, get the players ready, maybe tape some ankles, get some arm work done. But there's a lot much more to it than just showing up for the game. Can you kind of elaborate a bit about your day-to-day schedule during the season?
Oh, for sure. Now, when you look at, this is our home game, and we arrive most of the time, some by noon to 12:30 we arrive, because then we want to get the training room set up. And that's where we're prepared for the day. Anything that we need to do for the night before that we know what we're going to be dealing with from the day prior, we're going to be aware of that. And then we'll sit down as a group, plan the day, look at what we had the night before injury-wise. Someone might be a little beaten up, banged up, maybe a little slight injury that didn't take him out, but we know he could be a little sore, or somebody that we know that's already on the IL. How are we going to handle this? Who's going to do what? And if someone steps away, who's going to step in? We want to be in unison. We want to be one group. We want to be able, if someone steps away, that next person can step in. And that's how we want the training room to run, and that's how we do it. So the day is like so. We set it up, have our meeting, players start arriving. Now we start taking care of them, because BP or the stretch might not be until 3:30, and then they'll have their work in the training room, in the weight room, prepare themselves. So the strength coaches will have them doing their prep movements, all their, and some like to lift before the game. Some do, and some don't. So there's that going on as well. Then when they go outside, they'll stretch, they'll get ready, loosen their arms up, get into whether they're going to run fundamentals or some quickly out there. They'll BP, come in, grab a bite. Then they'll come in about an hour before the game starts, and then they'll start slowly coming in. We have players coming in, going to the hot tubs, loosening up, come in for, like you said, some need a taping, some need an arm stretch, some get some tissue work done just to get things loosened. We'll get them through some movements into the weight room again, get them moving again, outside 20 minutes before the game starts. They warm up a little bit more, game time. Go through the game, then we're on the bench. No injuries, great. If we have something, then we have our system in place, how we handle those, who steps into each position after that fact, evaluate, see where we are. Then the education of, or the communication goes upstairs to see where we are with that player. After the game, players will come in. We'll take care of them, whatever soft tissue work, dry needling, cupping, whatever we're going to do with them and what they need, we will handle them. And that's usually about an hour. And then we'll meet again, quickly talk about what happened, what to prepare for. We have our EMR system, our electronic records. We have our notes done, take our showers, head home, decompress, get up in the morning, work out, do what we need to do, and then we repeat. And that's what it's like for 162 games.
So clearly it's definitely more than, hey, we just show up for the game and we're off to the races. That's some great insight there for our listeners. It seems like the products and innovations that we've seen over the years in the field of athletic training have really been incredible when it comes to helping you all take care of the athletes on your team. Can you talk a bit about the technological advancements in the field of athletic training that you've seen throughout your career?
Oh, absolutely. And starting back as long ago as where I did, I mean, we didn't have a strength coach with us. We didn't have a nutritionist with us. We were doing things, all of it. And that was, I think, a great tool for me, as it helped me advance a little bit as well, is that we had to do all these different things. We're wearing different hats. And, you know, it was a lot of things we were learning about ultrasound and STEM and more ice and those things that we were learning and using our hands. Your hands are part of your best tools in this profession, because you actually get a feel for the person. We get a feel for the body part. We go through our tests that we learn, and we keep honing our skills on our tests. So that is, and then the advancement, as you know, Sam, is like now we bring it up to the present time. We're looking at more of technology. We're looking more of the data. We're looking more of like players' movements and the biomechanics, the labs that we're using. And if we look at what we're even using more so now, then it's like when you go to the PBATS meetings, we also have our product reviews, and that's where we learn more about these products as well, because science is changing and what's advancing with that. And, we're looking at things that, like the lasers that are coming out, and then how are those lasers being used, and how are we using them for the benefits of our players? And then we look at, again, I mentioned like the dry needling, the cupping, the grafts, and then again, BFRs are now being used more, the blood flow restrictions, and we're learning more about that and the advancements, knowing where they came from the military setting and now implemented into the athletic training setting. And it's advancing players at all levels because they're using it at all the sports, and we're finding more about these things and how it's actually being beneficial at a cellular level. So we're learning more about that, and science is our key. It's, that's where we learn things, and that's where we ask more questions. How can we develop that? And then bringing nutritionists in now, Sam, as well. That's a benefit. Now we have someone who's actually helping us educate players better on understanding their bodies, how to eat better, how to fuel their bodies pre, during, and post. And then along that, we come into the form of things that really, have piqued my interest and I've really gravitated to is sleep. And then again, with the sleep and the mental health, sleep we've gravitated to, and how we working with those with watches, chili pads, those things that really help players sleep better at night. And like we've implemented, when I was in Pittsburgh, we implemented a sleep room and how we would educate players on how to use sleep rooms during the day. And then we did that in Miami and implemented a sleep group there. It's all the things that we can help our players be better and better at their game. If they're healthier, right? If they're feeling good and you're healthier, of course they're going to be out on the field and being the best player they can. And then unfortunately, sometimes injuries happen. And then that's where we step in and use all these tools today that we've learned and what we can implement to make them better. And again, use them, make players aware of what's available and educate them as we continue to educate ourselves.
That's great. And speaking of providing the top level care for your athletes, you've mentioned mental health. I'd love to hear more about your interest in the mental health aspect and that it plays in sports and with your athletes. I know you're extremely passionate about it. So I'd like to start by asking, what attracted you to learning more about the mental health of professional athletes and its importance to their career and to also how you and your colleagues do your job?
And it started back when I really gravitated to sleep, because sleep, as I learned, was also hand in hand with mental health. It's amazing what you learn. And again, I still am learning from it and asking the questions to the doctors that I know that have helped me along the way. It started with Dr. Chris Winters, and that's where it was back with the Giants. It brought me to sleep, to mental health. Then with Pittsburgh, Todd Tomczyk and I gravitated to a group, the Mental Health First Aid, and we were just talking so much about how we know how much this game is a mental game, and we know how it affects players. And we did some research on our own, and we found this group, and we found out that we can educate ourselves, become mental health first aiders, just like CPR, if you think of it that way, where we learn how to see what's going on, understand how to communicate with someone who we might feel or displays issues. And really what we do is we are a segue to get them to the people who can actually help them, people who are qualified, and we want to be able to do that. And that's how this all started. We really just took off with learning about this. How can we educate ourselves? We became certified ourselves, certified our staffs, and then we started to bring it in upstairs to where we can educate people within the Pirates organization. And then, Sam, it just kept moving forward. It just kept moving forward. We kept having conversations, and we kept pushing it. And thanks to you and Neil Romano just opening the door even more so that we can educate and all of our peers to understand. My goal would be like if we could get all of the athletic trainers and PTs mental health first aid certified, because that just gives more knowledge, more availability to help our players. Because if you look at it, Sam, mental health and mental illness is something that affects all of us, right? It includes the athletes. In fact, there's 1 in 5 Americans that have diagnosable mental health, and that's like 52.9 million people. And that was in 2020. And we knew what happened in 2020 and what has happened on after that. So you have 20 million people that meet that criteria for a substance use disorder. And from 2021 to 20 to 21, I think there was something like 92,000 people died from drug overdose. And we still know that there's issues going on today, especially with fentanyl and all those other things. And then homelessness, which again, Sam, right, gravitates to mental illness. So you have 60% of adults with mental illness that don't receive mental health services in the past 12 months. And that's where you have a lot of these problems, Sam. It's like they're not getting the services they need because we don't have enough people that can help them. And I'm sure there's more information we can gather on that. But then we also got to look at different nationalities. So if you look at African Americans and Hispanic Americans who use mental health services, that's only half of the rate compared to the white Americans. So we have a disparity going on, right? And the numbers are climbing every year. It's growing a health crisis in our society. I think we see that on the news, and it's a growing concern. And I see it as baseball, Major League Baseball sees it as a growing concern too.
Yeah, Major League Baseball has done a fantastic job of educating both players, staff members, athletic trainers about mental health and becoming more aware. So, that players aren't afraid to share how they're feeling. How has that created a shift in the clubhouse? Obviously, mental health has been thought of as something in a negative light over the years. But as we learn more, and like you mentioned, see how many issues there are within the space. How have things changed in the clubhouse for your athletes and their willingness to open up about how they're feeling mentally?
I think we're making headway and understanding that, it's been great that we're getting this in the forefront, Sam, and it's great that PBAS and Major League Baseball, we're all starting to understand how important this is. But we got to continue to work on this and move forward. I think players understand. Players understand it's an issue, and I know they understand that this is a difficult profession. It's difficult to do this at the highest level, and you fail. And then how do we educate them on failure? How do we use our mental health? How do we use our performance coaches to educate them to understand that you're going to fail? It's not, and don't be concerned about a stigma. I mean, we think people, still see mental health, some, not all, that there's a stigma to it, that you're not strong, you're weak. It's not true. We have to stop that and start saying it's okay. It's okay not to be okay. You've heard that as well as I have. So it's okay that you fail. Let's talk about it. Clear the mind, work on those things because it's going to happen. So I believe there is headway again. And we know that we have to keep educating ourselves, keep educating the players, keep asking, how's your day? How are things going? What's going on in your life? Build those relationships. Be sincere. Be honest. Be a person. You're there with these individuals probably a great deal more time than you are with your own family to some degree while you're in this profession. So you do build these relationships. Hey, I understand we're not going to like everybody and not everybody's going to like you, and that's okay. But you do have to understand that everybody is going through certain things, and we don't see it, but we want to make ourselves aware and available to them. We want to make ourselves open to them, and we need to remove that stigma, and we need to understand that it's okay to have these discussions. Anybody, and males, and I get frustrated at times because I think we look at things, and males, you got to be this strong individual, and you are strong when you talk about these things. You are. You're bringing this to the forefront because it's important. It's important for yourself. It's important for the people behind you. It's important for the people around you. It's important for the people that love you.
That's absolutely true. And I'd like to get into a bit more about how mental health affects performance. Have you noticed with your athletes who really are striving to take better care of their mental health, a performance enhancement on the field, or is it more so just a off the field aspect for their well-being?
I think the concepts are synonymous. I think it's where we're going with this. It's like we're making sure we support our athletes and their mental health concerns, and it's important. We have to address these and address their physical concerns. So those things are important. I agree. It's well documented that stress, anxiety, and depression all have negative effect on performance. It's well documented. We look at some of the things we've gone back. When I look back at some of the research I've done with sleep, and we look at sleep, and what does sleep do? Without that, Sam, the lack of it, your performance is down. It just is. Everything that we do, from people that are outside working in the real world and working in professional sports, that has a mental effect on your brain, because you are not at your best when you're not getting the sleep that you have, which can stem from all those things that we were just talking about: stress, relationships, things that are going on with your family, illness in the family. All those things can build up on people. And then again, in addition, some of the research suggests, as I've read and we keep looking, it suggests that elite athletes are at a greater risk for depression than their non-elite counterparts. So that's serious to me. I think it's serious to all of us. So it all means that, at some point, that for all the elite baseball players and both players and the sports staff, we need to work together to support our mental health well-being and maximize our performance with that.
That's all super valuable information, related to sleep, mental health, and performance of the athlete. Now, shifting a bit back toward your life and career, I would love to hear more about what life is like for Ben Potenziano, the athletic trainer, after the career in baseball is over. Do you have any goals, aspirations? I know you said you have a huge interest in music and just an overall passion for everything you do. So share with the listeners a bit about what's next after athletic training for Ben.
To be honest with you, Sam, I've thought about it as I've gotten older now. It's like, I want to stay engaged. I love sports, and the music is my passion of release, as well as, running, health, overall health. So I'm looking at how can I implement, or how can I interject myself into where I can continue with mental health, sleep, and work with players. I want to stay continued and engaged to that. I just feel like I have more to offer and more that I want to do to help. Mental health issues are not going to go away, and we need to be there to help them. I would love to be part of that in some intricate way, and it doesn't have to be large. It's part of bringing in what I feel, or what people feel that I have some value to bring, and then obviously educate and continue to educate more. So that's what I really truly see myself doing, is being more of an educator, where we can help, truly help, and stay. This is what we've done. And when I say we, the athletic trainers that I've been around and worked with, and all of them that are out there right now, we help. We are providers. We're there to help, and we do it at all hours of the night, and it's okay. And we do it, and it's because we love it. And that's what I want to continue to do, is be able to help and be available to help the best way possible.
That's great. We really appreciate you sharing that. And all of this information about your life and your career is just extremely helpful for athletic training students looking to make that next step into an internship program or starting to work with a minor league affiliate. So that's all very helpful. To wrap up today's episode, we're going to finish with a quick Q&A segment that we call Extra Bases. So I'm going to ask you 4 quick questions to share some insights into some of your favorite things about athletic training and baseball. So whatever comes to mind, feel free to share. We'll start with first base. What is your favorite athletic training room to work in the big leagues?
I'm going to say right now, I really like Atlanta's. Atlanta's is really nice because it has plenty of room, and you're spaced out, and you're really next to the clubhouse and to the weight room. It's really, really set up nicely.
So moving on to second base, what is your favorite MLB stadium to watch a game from the dugout?
Well, you know what? Oh, here we go. Sweet home Chicago. The Cubs.
There we go.
It's just such an electric ballpark being there. The fans, they're a lot of fun. It really is.
So moving on, third base here. I know you mentioned you love music, so I got to ask, what is your favorite city to visit on the road and why?
I'm going home again. So I love going back to San Francisco. I broke in there, great people, great relationships, great city, fun city, great food, great ballpark, all of that. I mean, Sam, my most memorable experiences came from San Francisco, being with that group and the individuals, and just that's it for me, to be honest. That's it for me.
And you mentioned, there's been a ton of moments in San Francisco that are very, very meaningful to you. The fourth question, heading to home plate, did you have a welcome to the big leagues moment at some point during your first year as a Major League Baseball athletic trainer?
Oh, yeah. When they dress you up. We were in Chicago. They did the rookie dress up, and they dressed me up like a cowgirl. And it was great because I come off the bench in Milwaukee. I walk to my locker, we're done, taking care of plays. I go to my locker, and there's this outfit. I have no other clothes. And I'm like, welcome to the big leagues. Here you go. So I was dressed up as a cowgirl with the rest of the rookies. And we did not enter on the tarmac. We walked through the airport in Milwaukee to our plane. And that was the welcome, which was, you know what? I embraced it wholeheartedly. I loved it. Yeah,
that's amazing. And clearly, whether it's your career as an athletic trainer, right, or learning from your colleagues, paying your dues, sure, it sounds like is of utmost importance for you and for everybody. So, Ben, thanks so much for joining the show. We really appreciate your time, your dedication to PBATS and the profession of athletic training, and just overall your passion for what you do. And we hope to have you on again on Inside Athletic Training. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Sam. Great talking to you.
And that wraps up this episode. Thank you for listening to Inside Athletic Training, a podcast from the Professional Baseball Athletic Trainers Society, a show for athletic training students, educators, and professionals who want to learn more about life as an athletic trainer in major and minor league baseball. If you've enjoyed the show, head over to pbats.com to gain access to other free resources. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, thanks again for listening.